620 put, 12-2 expires. Weekly options expiration. Hey, sometimes the volume settings go higher and whatnot, and sometimes they go lower. It's in the audio setting. But here it is. They marked it down $27.80. Okay? They were $35. They expired today, all right. And we're gapping up here right at that 620. They marked the calls up considerably. The 12-17 calls, which will come into play as well, because they've got next week's written out. So we have to make sure that these are going to be addressed. And there has to be a limit order out. It's not that much of a gap, but listen, if we fail, remember that Mario told you that you have to get above that 618.96. And we have all the live video analysis with the live entries and the live exits for the last 6-7 weeks since we started this little new adventure on trading weekly buy signals, is how it's categorized from the beginning series to the ending series. And how do I apply? They marked these down $27.80. I'm going to show another put option that I'm going to go to 625 put right here, and I'm going to show you right now, and we're going to open up in 7 minutes. I'm going to show you right now that this is a 12.9 625 put that closed at 15. They're going to gap that one down, and I'm going to throw a bid out there right now on case A at $5. I'm going to throw it out there right now in case they break this up above there and break through 522.50. Right now they've been selling short pre-market all morning, even though that we've been going up in value a little bit. However, monthly jobs report is out, and I'm going into an opening bell in 7 minutes. So I'm going to show this particular gap right here, right now. They marked that 620 put that expires today down $27.80. I'm going to bid this 620 put right now at $1.50 right now. And I would say I'm going to put 10 of them out there. That's the one that expires, 12-2 620 put right here. Marked it down $27.80, closed at $7.20. I'm going to go ahead and throw a $1.50 bid out there. All right? But that's what the gap running higher into the opening bell, that they would take that down there and they would mark it down. That would be our lower risk entry. The 625 put for next week, I'm going to mark this one down on an entry on an opening bell trade management put side script. I'm going to go ahead and limit that order in right now at that lower end of that market. I'm going to go ahead and throw a $4.70 bid by 5.5 bid and ask for 70 by 5.5 with a limit in on that 625. That just so happens to be a 12.9 weekly 625 put intraday opening bell. Intraday opening bell. 4.7. What a great markdown. Our risk is very minimized. Now people cannot go into what we call shock, because it's hard to imagine that they could take that 720 close and mark that to $1.50. But that is where our entry is, and we'll readdress it in about 5 minutes. Opening bell in play. Keep going. Keep telling me. 1070 by 1130. Yeah, they deflated it on the first pass. We'll go ahead and let it keep running. I'm watching that put option that I put out here at $1.50 on that opening bell on this very same live video. I'm watching that 625 that I put well down below the market. Right now they're selling into the gaps, as I said earlier. I'm going to be looking at this one here. I've got other people looking at it and how the shorts are getting squeezed off of that Lulu. The other thing that I'm going to cover is the opening bell on how do I trade low volume opening bell, and how do I square in a price line trade as a market maker, and how do I get always when it does make its opening bell highs, it likes to drop down. Okay, there is that very low bid and ask. We are featuring how to trade and walk it higher to sell short. There it is right now, and it's still running. But once again, look at that dollar drop there in that bid and ask. And how do I trade that low volume opening bell as a buyer and a seller between the public? And how do I sell that? And look at that. That's a $5 premium gap, but your low is printed here, and your highs, you're making a series of higher highs. Let's take a look on the low volume highs. 10 on price line. When price line gets up at its intraday opening bell high, 2 minutes into the opening bell, and from the pre-market structure, having those short sells outweigh above the market, reduce my risk as you're up to that 257.49 from that 250 close. But how do I get that low volume print, and how do I make a market between the public? And this is the part that we really would love to share with you and let you get to know more about. MMTs are here now. This is live on the opening bell. And it's very important to understand how the mechanics of market makers work versus regular traders in the tape. And how do you get the spread off of the short of the high and then buy it back lower in the bid, and vice versa. 7.45 opening bell, 29 highs on 35,000 shares in 3 minutes. How do I learn how to trade and make a market and take the spread and walk away a winner? And how does all of that work? And why does it work the way that it does? Well, that's the reason why. And that's how you short those highs. Okay? And the bid is over here now, and the ask is over here. You can see how wide that bid and ask on a very low volume stock, high beta price between the buyer and the seller. And this is the part we like to share with you, because we can buy back to cover right over here, as 256.38 was buy to cover right here in the time and sells. So you short 257, say 70, and you buy back at 256.47. You just made $1 there with the public, okay, by selling that and buying it back at a lower price. 256.39 is going up right now to current time and sales print from a 257.90 high with low volume opening bell bid and ask entry. That is the subject. And how do I square a market long and short on opening bell from pre-market? The bids are holding right here. We put a high in here. We did not get above my 618.96. That is going to be the crucial part of this full weekly trend structure that we started 8 weeks ago on Google. This upper end is that when we pull back, that was the low. That's the range within the 5-minute opening bell. How do I square in there? And look at the markdown in the puts. They were marked down $27. They have 96 that went off at 365. The bid is 410 by 460. The time and sells that is printing is right here. You can see that 340 and 365s went off at the bottom. That's on that put side. That's that 620 put right up there. And it's only 5 minutes in the opening bell. How do I square in position management trade? The 625 put for 12.9 weekly, close at 15. This is a sucker one here, because if we break above, if we hold that lower end of support and we break higher within the next hourly trade, right now we're 6 minutes into the opening bell, making that lower low, and you can see how that 620 put has got that bid. But yesterday morning, it did the same thing. The puts went up in value, but then right when this thing hit support and reverse, these started to come back down in value, and we're watching this right now in the first 6-minute opening print. Why? Because what we have to teach our MMTs is how to go through that opening bell, which has a lot of driven electronic trades, and what that does emotionally to people, and how do you handle these price movements, and how do you handle what the bid and the ask is on the lows here, and how do you handle the fact that 101 contracts in the last prints were going off at 415 or 420 by 480. Let's take a look at that 625. We don't have 0 prints. That's on a new weekly contract. However, I would be happy to show people right now the other side of this trade would be that 620. We're watching, oops, I'm sorry, that's the 620 call, but the 620 put, here it is. I'll wait for the data to populate. They marked them down 1560. That's a 1280. It's a 1217. And basically 1560 is a close. You got a low print of 1280 with a markup of 1340 by 1380 on the opening bell. You're printing the low. Your gap is less than $3 now from the close to the 8-minute opening bell print between the buyer and the seller on Google at 16.99. Okay? And we're going to watch to see where the put side will come down when this finds its low in support within the first 30-minute opening bell. And how do I trade the opening bell? We will take you through that. Info at StockMarketFunding.com.